So newly released data from the Michigan Cannabis Regulatory Agency shows Michigan leads the nation in per capita cannabis sales. The math works out to just over $300 for every single person in the state, while Colorado, at the second highest, is around $290 per resident.
In 2023, cannabis sales totaled more than $3 billion, helped by record high sales in December, and taxes from sales of cannabis topped alcohol revenues.
Here with us tonight to break down these numbers is Dustin Walsh, healthcare and cannabis reporter for Crain's Detroit Business. As always, thank you for joining us.
No problem.
So what should we read into this? I mean, outpacing states like California, Colorado, some of the early adopters of all this.
Well, I think it really shows sort of the way our infrastructure was set up, which created a lot of problems for the industry, but it was able to sort of stand itself up really quickly. And we sort of got municipalities on board and things were happening very fast. And so sales reached peak really quickly. And so that's what sort of what outpaced other states, which limited sales, limited how much marijuana can be grown, et cetera, et cetera.
And the fact that we're also outpacing alcohol revenues in some areas, that really speaks to the fact that consumers are changing what they're looking for, right?
Yeah, I mean, alcohol sales have been dropping pretty precipitously for several years. Particularly younger generations don't imbibe as much as sort of the older generations do. But yeah, I mean, clearly it shows that people really enjoy marijuana, and also the the tax regime is a little different. Taxes are a little higher on marijuana than it would be for alcohol and beer and wine. But yeah, we're definitely, we crossed over $1 billion in 2023 since legalization in 2019.
So it also outpaced corn, the crop of corn in the state of Michigan. What does that say economically about the future of this state?
Well, I think if you look at it, agriculture is still obviously a very important part of our state. And when you look at sort of the corn prices, corn's low, it's more of a commodity, the prices really change. But I think for what I wanted to highlight by showing corn was that 4% of all acreage, all available land in the entire state of Michigan is dedicated to growing corn. And so that's just sort of pointing out the scope of how much marijuana is being grown. I mean, we sold over 500,000 pounds, the weight of the Statue of Liberty, more than the weight of Statue of Liberty last month alone.
Wow.
So that's sort of the scope and size of this industry.
Yeah, and I would imagine that business owners and future businesses will be taking notice of the fact that this is really a huge change. What do you think that could mean in the future in terms of what we see? Could we see more of these types of businesses popping up?
Yeah, so I think the industry is obviously going to keep attracting more people. It's a very difficult industry to make money on. A lot of people rushed in and a lot of people lost their hat, a lot of investors lost their hat. But it's really about where's the peak and also what's going on around us. So a lot of projections say we're going to top out at 3.2 billion. Well, we already crossed 3 billion, so is next year going to be the peak or not? And you also have to imagine that Illinois does have legal marijuana, but it's higher taxes, so a lot of people still travel to Michigan to buy. And now Ohio is legalized and will be pretty much on pace and ready to go by the fall. So we have to see sort of what happens in Ohio, because a lot of people do come up to Toledo and Monroe area, or from Toledo in the Monroe area to buy. And so what sort of dent could that put into sales? And really that's the question. Have we peaked, and what does that mean long term?
We've discussed before, prices have come down. It's a relatively cheap market comparatively.
Yep.
How might that change going forward, and would that affect these per capita sales?
Sure. So obviously, yeah, we were at $500 a pound back in early 2020. We're down to under $100 a pound. So that shows you sort of the dynamics that it takes to make money in that industry. But also, it's really great for consumers, and it is low prices. We're going to see that. What is Ohio going to do? They're going to probably put a canopy limit on how much marijuana can be grown. Well, that's going to inflate prices. So it's really, what happens in the future with other states, what happens with 280E and some of the other federal tax regimes and other things that happen to really sort of either propel the state forward or keep us kind of where we're at.
Are you at all surprised by some of these numbers? It's shocking for me, but I know you've been tracking everything.
I'm not. I think people underplayed it a long time. I think, people got comfortable with it. I think it's hard to talk to anyone in the state that hasn't done this at least once in the last 5 years, right? To just, well, it's legal now, maybe I'll try it. And so you're seeing ease of access is really sort of taking control. And we've seen better data on it. We've seen longer term issues. So it's really, I'm not surprised. I think, we know how to run business in the state of Michigan, and it's showing.
Yeah. This culturally has been such a change. There are still many states in the country that don't have legal cannabis. Whenever they do get into those debates, there's a lot of talk about the potential tax benefit and how much money it could bring in. Do these numbers kind of prove that point?
I mean, I think it's hard to find a tax outside of the large tax like income taxes and residential real estate taxes and things like that that cross $1 billion in 4 years. So I think other states would have to take notice. It just depends on what sort of freedoms they want their residents to have. Sure. And so I think smart states are definitely looking at the price and seeing like $1 billion is a lot of money for a lot of states. So I think, and I don't think there's a single state in the United States that isn't having this conversation.
Yeah, especially if their residents are traveling to other states to spend their money there.
Absolutely.
All right, Dustin Walsh from Crain's Detroit Business, thanks for joining us.
Absolutely, thank you.